All right, hello everyone. Thank you all very much for coming. It is clearly a busy time in the semester, so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening, and also all of our panelists for taking the time. If you have not met me, my name is Lauren Petrie. I'm the Career Readiness Coordinator for the College of Engineering and Mathematical Sciences. The woman that was previously in my role was Alicia Ellis. So I coordinate a summer internship program and a co-op program, and also work with a ton of additional employers as well. So the group that we have with us today is going to introduce themselves in just a second. They're mostly civil and environmental and mechanical students that completed internships this past summer at a bunch of different companies. So to start, we're just going to have them all go around and introduce themselves.
So my name is Dan. I'm a mechanical engineering student, junior, and I worked for Tyler as a
Engineering intern.
Hi, I'm Greg Casaldi. I'm a mechanical engineer here. I'm a senior. I'm expected to graduate this following semester in the spring. And I interned at General Dynamics, Ordnance and Tactical Systems. I believe their name actually changed now. I think it's MAPS. I think it's Munitions, Armaments, and Protection Systems. They just merged while I was there with another company, or another part of GD. And I was technically, I believe I was a engineering design intern, but really I was just an engineering intern as far as I'm concerned, because I had a whole array of jobs. That's what I did.
My name's Emily. I am a civil engineering major. I'm a senior, and I worked at the city of Burlington, which was really fun as an engineering intern. Yeah, that's it. Oh, my title is engineering intern. I'm Liz. I am a civil engineer. I am graduating in May. I interned at the Vermont Agency of Transportation, or VTrans, and I was a structures and hydraulics intern.
My name is Parker. I'm hoping to graduate in May. I'm a mechanical engineering student. Worked for Navigant Consulting in their energy branch, and my title was energy efficiency intern or demand side management intern.
Great. So tell us about the company you interned with and what your duties and projects were.
So Tyler makes pumps and motors for primarily for the nuclear industry. So it's like really high pressure, really high temperature water that has to have a lot of factor safety involved. What I was doing was not designing those. So I was working on kind of a data collection and organization project. So a lot of stuff with Excel, a lot of organizing and interpreting CAD drawings and hand-drawn drawings from the 60s, and trying to read terrible handwriting, but yeah, it was interesting.
So General Dynamics is essentially a defense contractor. Really what this branch does, Ordnance and Tactical Systems, is very large guns. The kinds of guns you would never see in person, hopefully. Grenade launchers, machine guns, Gatling guns. Gatling guns are the guns that go on like the jets you see fly above us. Really, really massive guns, like from that desk to that desk. Very powerful, mostly mechanical. And a couple other defense systems, like they have a shipborne system that is basically an antenna that looks out for missiles coming across the sky. They work with a bunch of other companies that work on that because a lot of things are collaborations in the defense industry. My duties and projects were various parts of those things. A lot of it is not anything new. Most of it's not brand new design, but more of fixing designs, changing designs, updating designs. Because some of these things, like I know one of the best machine guns they have on the market there is, I'd ask everybody to guess, but that would take too long. It's almost 100 years old. They're one of their best machine guns. So there's constant updating that comes along with that to try and keep something up to date from 1918 to 2016. So I worked on various projects like that, different little mechanical duties. I also went to the range in Jericho, which is where GD has shooting range, and they fire off their Gatling guns, their machine guns, they test everything. I worked with a lot of the testing engineers there, worked on some of the different setups they have, and tested some of the devices they're working with.
Okay. So at the City of Burlington, there's a lot of, I don't know, I didn't really know what the City of Burlington did before I interned there. They do everything from like sidewalk maintenance to road maintenance to a lot of just like keeping up public infrastructure. So while I was there, I interacted a lot with citizens, like all the residents, who are unhappy about various things in their lives that are our responsibility. I did a little bit of like concrete design, it was pretty fun, and a lot of project management. So not so much like applying things that I learned in like structural analysis or like hydraulics, but project management. Yeah. VTrans has a highway division, and within the highway division, there's the structures division, there's hydraulics, there's geotech, there's roadway, there's like a bunch of different things. So I was specifically in the structures division, which also is like paired with hydraulics. So I split my time about 50-50, working in doing some like deck design of bridges and some design review. So they have like a program where you can, whoever's like made the final drawings of a bridge can send them out to everyone who's ever dealt with the project at all, and you can comment on it and like do corrections and stuff. So I did some of that. I would say my favorite part was the hydraulics that I did. I got to go to a bunch of different sites all over Vermont. We went as far north as Franklin, which is basically in Canada, and we went as far south as Brattleboro. And we got to look at different culverts and do some hydraulic analysis to make sure that they were hydraulically adequate. Most of them weren't. So then you have to write up a memo and send it to the town saying, like, suggesting a new structure. You do a hydraulic study on that structure to make sure that the new one is going to be hydraulically adequate. So I did that, and then I did a lot of, like, my supervisor does a lot of rehabilitation of bridges, so I would check some of his work and do some, like, just general, like, preliminary design projects.
Navigant is a consulting company. They have a couple of different branches, health. I worked in the energy branch. Basically, their main clients in customers and markets, which is the subsection of the energy branch that I worked in, are utility companies, electric utilities. And so we work primarily on contracts. You know, the director goes out, finds these contracts, people that want work done. A lot of it is energy efficiency work. So Navigant primarily designs energy efficiency programs for utilities. Utilities will hire a third party to implement the programs, and then they'll rehire Navigant to evaluate the programs. So a lot of what I did wasn't actually engineering. It was sort of, it involved a lot of engineering background knowledge on, you know, lighting efficiencies, heat pump technology, that kind of stuff. But I wasn't directly doing a lot of the stuff that I've done in a lot of my classes. And as an intern, they also sort of had me help out on, you know, different contracts that they needed help on to meet a deadline. So there were times where I did research into sort of the regulatory environment in Vermont. I worked on designing a tool to evaluate, an Excel tool to evaluate energy efficiency projects for a client in Indiana. I had my own project that was given to me, which was sort of a residential energy use, not a survey, but research. So I went and gathered a lot of government data and did some minor analysis on it. Actually, I'm not allowed to say any more than that. But and then, yeah, so a lot of it was just sort of helping out on various contracts. That's sort of the nature of consulting work, is that you end up doing a lot of stuff that makes your company money. You won't necessarily know what that is until the contract's won. insight into the industry, which is another nice thing about consulting, is that you get exposed to a variety of different issues in whatever field you're going into. So, found it very useful.
Great. How did you hear about and choose what internships you applied for, if there were multiple? And then what was the application process like?
So I first heard about Hayward Tyler from Alicia in the fall, because I was looking for places to kind of go and just check out and see what they were about. And Hayward Tyler was one of the ones that she gave me the contact info to. And I talked to their HR director, and he was like, "Hey, we have an internship program. We're working with UVM and have an intern spot in the summer." And I was like, "Cool, apply for that." And then it was through the UVM
Database.
application process. And then, so Hayward Tyler had a design internship offering, and then they kind of had a consolation prize for the people who didn't get the design internship, which is what I ended up getting. So it's kind of like, hey, like, we still like you and want you to work for us, but you're not a design engineer.
What was the application process like that they put you through? Like, did you do in person?
So there was a 10-minute interview at the career fair, and then there were like interviewed a bunch of people there, and then there was like an hour and a half in-person interview at Hayward Tyler. They gave me like a 2-question quiz with like a solid mechanics problem and a drawing that we had to like find what dimensions were missing or something. It was easy.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Dan.
Mine's super school. I mean, I get all the emails. I knew it was a thing. I tried to do it last year. I didn't get any, I don't think. And I actually originally wasn't going to apply for the CEMS internships because I didn't want to stick around in Vermont. I was thinking about trying to get out somewhere else. I'm actually originally from Connecticut. But I was going to see if I could go elsewhere. And then I said, I should probably check this out and be really stupid not to take advantage of something the school offers if it's possible. So I went through the whole process, and I chose GD, and I actually think I chose Hayward Tyler too, and I ended up getting shipped off to GD, and I got a call from them, and that was kind of how it went through after that. They called me, asked me to come in for the interview. I showed up, I met with I believe it was the manager of that branch, and then like the head manager, and then another manager. One was the branch engineer, I believe, and one was the engineer. He was an engineering manager. Both great guys, and we kind of just, I wasn't given any real problems. It was more of talk about your engineering experience. So talk about everything you've done, talk about your projects that you've worked on, things you've overcome, achievements you've had. And then a lot of it was just talk with them, which was pretty interesting because I think they were really just trying to get a feel for who it was, which I expected a little bit more of a test, and it turned out to be more kind of nice and informal. And it was.
Do you remember any of the questions they asked you in like the more informal?
They were very interested in Aero. They were really excited to talk about that. That was like a good chunk of our time because one of the manager there actually he had participated in Baja at his school, so he was really excited to talk about that. And then the other guy was just wanted to hear more about it. So we kind of went on about that for a while. And then we talked about other clubs that I was in, how I was trying to get AIAA started up. They wanted to hear about my grades. There's a mark on my transcript for when I really stuff hit the fan. Freshman year when I didn't do as well, and then my grades spiked up pretty quick. They wanted to know a lot about that. They're really interested in that, so I gave them a good story for that. And I wrote a really interesting cover letter too that might have caught their attention. So I think they wanted to talk about that too. It's a little bit of out of the ordinary cover letter. So I think that's kind of what got their attention. But other than that, it wasn't many like quiz questions about solid mechanics or thermal or anything like that, which was kind of what I expected. It was more of who you are and what you've dealt with and projects that you've actually gotten hands-on with. Which, after I talked to the manager at my last meeting with him, he actually discussed that that was one of the things he was looking for. Because I asked him,
it's really dumb to not take advantage of it. And the city of Burlington, my boss actually contacted me back and said, "Do you want to come in for an interview?" And I went in, and I was interviewed by who would become my boss and another like department head. And I thought I totally failed the interview, even though it wasn't any like actual like practical engineering questions. It was just kind of like, hey, let's talk. Kind of like what Greg's was. I don't know. I just thought I did really poorly. But no, I got email I think a week and a half later, and they said, "Congratulations. Would you like to work here?" And I said, "Sure." That's more or less what happened. It was pretty easy. I was fully expecting to have to like answer some basic questions, like basic engineering questions, but I didn't. And we spent the last 15 minutes of my interview talking about quilting. So there you go. Yeah.
It's not that much.
Pretty laid back.
You can make outside engineering connections.
Yeah. So I initially wanted to get out of the state, so I was like putting my resume up on like any site I could get my hands on for a bunch of like big out-of-state companies where they just like sift through your resumes with like some sort of computer program and blah blah blah. So I didn't hear back from any of those, but I, in addition, had applied to the competitive internship program for actually both the City of Burlington position and the VTrans position. I ended up having my information sent to both of those companies. Got interviewed for both of them. Got offered both positions, and I chose VTrans because it was more structures, which is what I'm really interested in. So I chose that one. The interview itself was really laid back. There were 3 people in the room. They were all project managers. One was my supervisor, or my soon-to-be supervisor. One was the project manager for the pit, which is the basically they're the people who do like the scoping process to figure out what you're going to do with the project. And then the project manager for covered bridges. It's like a covered bridge expert. So they were really, really interested in examples of times that I had shown leadership or shown effective group work or just things like that. Like they definitely asked for a couple like concrete examples of times that I had like given successful presentations or something like that. So I talked about that. They definitely were looking for an interest in structures. So I don't know, I made a joke about how in 5th grade I did a project on bridges. So like in my closet at home, I just have this like poster board with pictures of bridges on it. So they liked that. But other than that, like it was pretty laid back. I was definitely super nervous, but I had to just kind of take a breath and realize that these are people, and they were all very, very friendly, which I came to realize from working there too, that everyone's rooting for you to succeed, like especially as they know what it was like to be in college looking for an internship. So just looking for any connection with them is a good thing to do. And yeah, for the most part, it was pretty laid back.
First of all, plug for the CEMS Summer Internship Program. Really great opportunity. I mean, I think some of the companies send out the job info to the greater area, but I don't know what the rate is. I'm sure almost all of them end up taking UVM students, and you're really just competing against a really small pool of people. So it's a really great opportunity. I applied last year, didn't get either of the ones I applied for. This year, actually a bit of a unique situation. I was traveling abroad, so I was in Guatemala when I applied for this job. I only applied jobs while I was traveling, so I sort of put it all on this, hoping to get it. They ended up, I got my application off. They sent me a thing saying, "Hey, we see that you're not in the country. How do you want to go about?" I said, Skype interview would work if that works for them, or I could interview when I got back, which would have been, the end of the school year. So I was in like this sweaty 100-degree cafe getting internet, on Skype with my only night shirt that I had, which was like a polo. I'm being interviewed by these three. And I mean, it's a pretty corporate structured company, but the office in Vermont is super laid back. But they definitely all, put suits on to interview me. So I'm sort of sitting, working on my computer screen, these three people in suits, and I'm sweating in a cafe in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, the interview was really straightforward. I mean, they didn't ask me a lot of, test questions. They just sort of, they let me talk for a lot of it. Part of it was they wanted to bring me on for a specific project, which was programming related, and I had experience with Python from my job last summer. So they really wanted me to talk about that, what I had done, how I could apply that to this potential situation. They asked me just why I wanted the job in general, and I told them, consulting, I thought it was a good opportunity to get experience in the energy industry, which is what I was really interested in. But yeah, they didn't really test me at all, because a lot of the work I was doing was so relative to what contracts they had at the time. So mostly the questions I had for them was if they could tell me any more about exactly what I would be doing. The actual offer was so broad that I didn't really understand what my role would be. So a lot of the conversation was me sort of being really confused about what they do, and being also really confused about what they do until I started. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I would just say, really understand why you want to take that job. Have some interesting stories to tell them. Definitely, the leadership question. Whenever I worked in a group, sort of meeting deadlines was a question they asked about, because that's pretty big when you have contracts. But
Thanks. Okay, so the next question is, tell us what you believe helped you kind of stand out to other candidates. If you are not sure how to answer that, you can also talk about what skills you took away from your internship too.
The only skills that I really gained were higher proficiency in Excel. Is mostly what it was. I mean, I met a lot of people and made some good contacts, but hard skills was mostly just Excel. I think what made me stand out was that I started talking to Hayward Tyler in the fall before the internship program was even official. And so I knew someone there, and I had seen him in person, and I talked to him over email, and I kept making sure that he knew that I was still interested. So every now and then I would think of a question and email him and ask him, hey, what's the deal with this? What's the deal with that? And just keep showing him that I was interested and that I was passionate about it. And I was definitely less qualified, like technically qualified, than all the other candidates. I think I was the only junior, or the only sophomore, actually. Yeah. But I think because of that personal connection that I had made, that's what kind of kept me in the running.
Yeah, Hayward Tyler had 4 interns this past summer, and Dan was the only one that did an internship with them after his sophomore year. Everyone else is now a senior. So, yeah, thanks.
What did I?
You mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So things that made me stand out, I think. So one thing, and I'm gonna probably intervene some of the questions. One thing that actually they said that was pretty funny to me was that I got really good recommendations from my professors. I have really close relationships with all the professors that I usually have. There's like select few I never got very close with, but some of them like very close with. Like, there's no doubt that I wanted a recommendation from them. And they actually actually said during the interview that I got a really good recommendation, and then surprisingly, some people got terrible recommendations. You choose the person who is going to write your recommendation. Don't choose a teacher that doesn't like you. They said there were literally recommendations that like talked about the student in a very negative way, like that they shouldn't be allowed for the internship. And I don't think that was everybody, obviously. I don't think I got that lucky. But that was one of the things that I noticed stood out because they mentioned that specifically during my interview and after the interview too, and at the end of and during my internship when I asked again, why me kind of thing. And another thing was Aero. Obviously, they were really looking for things outside of school and school. So they wanted both. They wanted the whole package. They wanted a combination of that and a combination of I also want to do other things. So they liked that I did Aero. They liked that I did AIAA. They liked that I did a couple other things that are on my resume. And then the other thing that I think made me stand out was, like I said, my cover letter was a little bit unconventional. It was almost more like a college essay where I was just trying to explain me and my passion for things. And when I got there, I think that's what they ended up liking a lot. Was that our discussion was literally just about engineering in general. I asked them about their projects. I knew about their projects before I went in. We talked about specific things they worked on, specific things that the company works on themselves. I talked about a patent that the guy worked on and has, and I think they liked just the general interest in engineering and technology in general. I had discussions with my boss during the year, during the internship that would go on. We would have half an hour to hour discussions about, it wasn't even always just GD. It was like just technology and engineering in general. So I think they enjoyed that a lot. Skills I took out of it. So just real quick, the big lesson there. Get the professor that really likes you to write your recommendation. And things I got out of it was mechanical engineering in general. They put me on, I think at the end of the year, it was probably 6 or 7 different kinds of projects. Hands-on, hands-off, computer, not computer, just straight-up analysis and mathematics and stuff like that. So I think I got a very general, better understanding of all sorts of engineering concepts, which was pretty great at the end of the year. There's really no complaints in that area because I was able to handle a lot of different things. Like I said, I can't complain because I also got hands-on activity too. I got to go touch the guns and touch the parts and see how they worked and learn how they worked. I think overall there's a better general understanding of things, how they work in engineering, how to analyze.
So what I think helped me stand out the most during my interview with the city of Burlington was, I don't know, I have a lot of experience. If we're being frank, I don't have the best grades. Like, that's not really my strong suit. I don't know. So that definitely wasn't like, oh, she's got a 3.9, let's hire her, she's really good at school. But I have a lot of experience. I talked a lot about, or they asked me a lot about Aero, even though that's like not very civil engineering. It's still, leading projects and like I've been the treasurer of Aero for like this is my 3rd year. So they wanted to know about that, and I don't know, just like clubs. They wanted to know about my work study. I don't know. My advice is just like get experience doing things. It doesn't have to be, ASE or anything like that, or like ASME. But get experience doing things outside the classroom that you can talk about, or even in the classroom. I also made like a personal connection. As I said before, we talked a lot about quilting. So I thought that I didn't get the job because we kind of stopped talking about the internship and more, what kind of patterns we like and this and that. So I thought, oh, okay, like this is no longer a job interview, we're just palling around. So I think that really helped. Even though at the time I thought it was terrible. Just like make a personal connection and try to be friendly. I think, I don't know, in previous interviews I've had, before I left my interview, one of the people in the room like specifically said that I had a really strong recommendation from my professors. This professor that I had a recommendation from. I've both been in his class and done research for him, so I think that was a really solid recommendation to include. And he was also someone who had worked with some of the people in the structures division at VTrans before, so they knew his name. So I think that was a really strong point. Also, just the fact that I had done undergraduate research as a junior. They were impressed by that, and that I was able to talk about it and talk about like what I had learned from it. So that was a really interesting topic to discuss with them. And yeah, those are probably the stand-up things. The skills that I learned were included. I learned some migration, which was really helpful because that's a program like AutoCAD that a ton of companies use and it's not taught here. So getting my hands on AutoCAD or on migration was great, especially because I started out as mechanical, so I learned SolidWorks. I've never learned AutoCAD, so being able to finally like get in there and learn some more civil engineering programming was great. I learned some MathCAD. I really got to know a lot of the rules and regulations that there are on structures. There's 2 enormous 3-ring binders just for regulations on bridges and stuff. So I got to become more familiar with those, which is definitely going to be helpful in the future. And yeah, I got a lot of hands-on work with like going out in the field and doing hydraulic studies, and that was really great too. And I also got some writing experience because throughout the entire summer I was writing a scoping report for the scoping section for figuring out what to do with a deteriorating culvert. So I was like going through the whole process of writing out like how it exists now. Cost estimating was also a big part of that, and yeah, and then like coming up with a conclusion for what they should do to replace it or rehabilitate it.
There are a couple reasons I think I got the job. One of them, grades are pretty good. I also happen to be an environmental studies minor in addition to an engineering major, so I sort of have that environmental background that they might be looking for in the energy field, at least some sort of. I also wrote in my cover letter sort of why I wanted to work in energy, at least try it out, which I think sort of helped because I had both sides of it. Because my supervisor I know really wanted someone that was an engineer because he's an engineer, he's like a classical engineer, and he knows that sort of how he thinks is how he wanted someone to work with him. I think the reason they originally brought me on, I think, was they wanted me to work on, again, this programming project, which I never ended up getting started on because of corporate reasons. But that project was something that one of my professors I did research for, sort of, and worked a lot with him in a programming aspect. And he was the person I asked to give my letter of rec. And so I think that probably helped. They didn't actually mention it, but I'm sure I got a decent review. And then I think definitely just doing something interesting. I had a story because I was traveling at the time, so I think they were just sort of interested in what I had to say. Made some jokes. Yeah, they liked it, so that was good. And then actually, just a weird tidbit, but I actually found in the company drive the files for the people that they checked for the internship, and I didn't go through it, but there was a section for whether or not you sent a thank you letter after the interview. And so that's something I would recommend doing if you ever end up getting an interview. Definitely send a thank you because you never know what to put you above and beyond. Anyway, skills that I learned, definitely Excel. I think every company out there uses a lot of Excel still. experience, just sort of, again, the energy industry in general, which is awesome. I came out with a really profound sense of, I may not want to work in this company in this setting, but there are a lot of avenues out there for a mechanical engineer and something that I might want to do, so I thought that was extremely helpful. And then just sort of working in a corporate environment is something that I've never done before. I've done research as a professor. I've worked as a server at a cafe, all sorts of odd jobs, but never, for a company that has over 1,000 employees in the U.S. And so, getting familiar with company structure, getting familiar with your role, getting familiar with and sending professional emails, responding on time, phone calls, phone surveys, that kind of stuff. It takes up a lot of your day actually that you never really thought about before, but just sort of how to work on project. I had a lot of projects I was working on where I was working under someone who was in Boulder or someone who was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and so a lot of phone call check-ins, a lot of email check-ins, and a lot of make sure you're hitting your deadlines, that kind of stuff. And so, just efficient communication on whether or not you're on target, whether or not you're slipping, that kind of stuff. That you don't really think about that much if you're doing group projects at UVM where all the students are around, you have all their cell numbers and you're just texting in a group. But yeah, corporate life is different for sure. So that was a good experience.
Awesome. So the last couple questions are pretty quick, and then you all can ask them questions if you have any. So were any of you offered future opportunities with the company, even if you couldn't necessarily accept?
Yeah, I was offered part-time employment, kind of doing the same thing.
Junior year.
Part-time during the year, and I couldn't do it. So we talked about it, and I told him we'd be in contact throughout the year. Full-time, probably won't end up getting that because I don't think that they're going to be hiring many new employees, just the way GT looks. They've gone from probably like 2,000 people to 200 in the past 10 years. So that's just my vibe. But yeah, that's how it went. But we didn't talk about it, so.
I was offered part-time for the year because the intern before me, who I took the position of, did the same thing, but he was only taking 9 credits and I'm taking 17, so couldn't really do that. And I think they just hired someone else to do engineering at the city of Burlington, so couldn't take it, but was offered. Yeah. So at the end of the summer, I was actually interviewed for a full-time position, and it was me, the other intern that I worked with the whole summer, and then one other person from outside. So they actually ended up offering both me and the other intern who was with me full-time positions starting after we graduate. So he's graduating in December, so he's going to start then. I'm graduating in May, so I'm starting in May. I'm also doing part-time during the school year, so I'm doing 18 credits of school and 10 hours a week in Montpelier. So that's it's rough, but it's definitely worth it. And the fact that I could work part-time during the school year, I think helped them make sure that it was me that they wanted to work full-time after. Plus it was me and the other intern, they had been training for the entire summer and the other person was from outside, so I think they were always kind of assuming that they were going to hire the two of us. But yeah.
I think Navigant hires interns with the intent of hiring them after they graduate. I got offered, they asked me sort of informally if I want to stay on part-time throughout the year. I had a super busy semester, so I said no, and then my supervisor is actually a really cool guy, told me, don't let the director strong arm you into wanting to come back next semester. He was like, you should really take the time and just enjoy some year. I thought it was really funny him telling me not to come work for them. And then I'm still in touch with my supervisor. I actually saw them. They came to a talk. My supervisor, my director, came to a talk at UVM on Monday, so I saw them again, and I'm getting lunch with my supervisor. So definitely staying in contact is helpful because they're really good industry contacts. It's just nice to have friends.
So in the interest of time, we'll skip the last question since I think you all offered a pretty good amount of advice. Unless there's anything anyone wants to add, any advice for people who might want to apply for internships?
Two. One was the recommendation thing. Just want to reiterate that. Get friendly with the teacher. Make sure you get a good recommendation. I think it helps a lot. Another thing is, I know at GED, and it's definitely varies from company to company, but I had a pretty long conversation with my boss at the end of the year about what he wants, because I wanted to reiterate to people when I came back what he wants out of an intern, so what he wants to, like, why he would pick another person. And he gave me a pretty long list of things and what to do. And it was one thing to emphasize just for GD in certain companies. I know a lot of companies like this, not all companies are. It depends on your connections and who you are as a person. But an easy way to help out with that is your GPA. As crappy as that is, and I hate to sound like a parent, but I know that helped me. I know he actually reiterated to me, and I've heard it from Kurt Johnson, he was a recruiter for IBM. They both literally told me that when they get resumes on their desk, he said it's between a 2.9 and 3.1. He puts it to the side and leaves it in a pile. He said if it's below, it's done. And then he says if it's above, he looks at it. And he said if it's above a 3.8, he puts it to the side because he is skeptical of that. And that's how he does his resume looking. And then the next thing he looks for is what extra stuff you did. So if you did anything outside of school, if you did any hands-on activity, and the big hands-on thing was what he wanted. I think they liked that a lot when I interviewed them. Was just hands-on. He was like, you're actually taking apart things and playing with things, and I have other things other than Arrow. But Arrow was the bigger thing, and I had just entered when I went into that interview, and and I told them that I was like, I'm not that experienced. And they were like, we don't care. There wasn't that many people that applied with tons of experience in anything else. It was a great talking point. So those are really two big things that I think helped out a lot. And like I said, I'd hate to emphasize the GPA thing, but I think that helped me. And I think the fact that he emphasized that at the end of it was a pretty big one. And he also emphasized the idea that you want to make sure you sound it, even if you're not interested in that specific field. Like I wasn't interested in guns. That wasn't exactly why I applied. They're cool. The engineering aspect is really cool. But I like engineering in general, and that was the peak of our discussion, the peak of all of our discussions, and I think he really liked that. He said, I want to find someone who is interested in just engineering and technology in general. I like that a lot, is what he said. So those are words from just, not word for word, but pretty close to what he said.
Any other?
Yeah, you
Sorry.
said
Okay. So GPA is very important. Super important. Don't think, oh, I can get that D. It's fine. No, you gotta do well in class. But if you don't have a good GPA, don't get discouraged, because I do not, and I've had 3 internships so far. So go for it, even if you don't think you're gonna get it. Just go for it.
Yeah. Don't stop because you don't have the GPA. That's for sure.
But
It's
also
not.
keep trying.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying some dude older. I know he held a requirement, which is crappy, and I don't think it's necessarily fair. But I know that bigger companies and certain companies do. But that's an example of it, and I know tons of people who are like that, and that's totally fine. So it's really dependent. All I know is that it just helped me in that scenario. And I know there were other jobs that weren't necessarily looking for exactly that. So.
I just say definitely start early. Cover letters, I think, are super important for letting the company know why you're interested in them. You're not just trying to get a job. You actually, want to get experience in this field because that's what a lot of companies are looking for. Someone who might stay on afterward, and then get help with cover letters. Nobody's always there for you. So yeah. Resumes are resumes, but cover letters are
so there might be a group in here next. I hear people outside. So if you all have questions, feel free to come down and chat with us. Over here on this table, there's a flyer for students interested in the Summer Internship Program and how the process works. There's also going to be some info sessions next week just talking about how to find internships or now engineering co-ops in general. Those will be fairly quick and straightforward, kind of like this session was, but I'm going to basically just be talking about both of those programs, and my business card is there. I'm happy to help students that are searching, need assistance, need help with resumes, cover letters, finding opportunities, all of those things. And thank you all very much for coming, and thank you all for participating and being here to chat with everyone. Okay, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
That's what I said. Yeah, I've heard that before. He said it was one thing we saw for all these extracurricular stuff too.
Yeah, but if it's like
It's just a 4 hours. Judgmental, but you only have a piece of paper.
I do. Monday and
I think it was like passing out the
I need to go.
it was their last interview, and then they
I know that's small.
I mean, I've been talking to veterans already,
really.
and I've already had an internship with diploma,
That's awesome.
so that helps.
Is it in the structures division that you're looking for?
I don't really know what they call it. It's in between the construction division and the maintenance division somewhere, so it's further down.
It might just be.
But they said it's like it is engineering because they do like, I don't know, small bridge projects. They'll just run through a set of plans really fast.
Yeah.
Get it back out.
Yep.
Throw it out to bid really quick.
Yeah. That's cool though.